GM, everyone. Welcome to Flywheel, your on-chain source for everything on-chain, Frax, and everything. Hold on, let me get the script. GM, everyone. Welcome to Flywheel, your number one source for everything Frax, DeFi, and everything in between. If you want to know what's going on in the world on-chain, you've come to the right place. This is DeFi Dave here with capital K, and we're here to help you harness the power of the Flywheel. And this time, we had on the blog boy, DeFi Surfer, catching waves, catching trends, and everything in between. We had him on to talk about everything from Circle to Arbitrum. Real big Arbitrum fanboy. We got deep on chain there, deep on the L2. Kiet, thoughts on this one?
We also went macro for all you guys out there too.
We went macro.
We know. Yeah. We larked around a little bit for you guys to get our thoughts on what's going on in the world, and I really like his take coming from his Tradfi background.
And if you want to catch all his takes, you got to just stay tuned because we're about to roll into it. But before that, make sure you hit the bell button. Subscribe to us on YouTube to catch everything Flywheel because we never miss a beat with you. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Give us a like and follow us on Twitter at FlywheelDeFi. Hit us up on Telegram. Join the discussion at FlywheelDeFi. Follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave22.
And follow me at 0xcapital_K.
Don't forget to listen to the post game after the show. Let's get the flywheel spinning.
परदेसी नू तेनू नितजार होना पै जाऊगा नाल रंजेटे जोगी दे तेनू जोगण होना पै जाऊगा इश्क दे अलिया जख्मां दे खुद हसास के मुंह सी लांगी जे यार मेरा मैनू जहर दे मैं गट गट करके पी लांगी
Do you hold ETH but don't know what to do with it? Want to earn those juicy liquid staking derivative yields but don't know where to start? Well, FrxETH is there for you. FrxETH is Frax's native LSD solution, allowing you to earn boosted yields in multiple ways on your ETH. If you want to get started, go to app.frax.finance and turn your ETH into FrxETH today. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Flywheel. I'm your host, DeFi Dave, here with capital K, and this time we have on Mr. DeFi Surfer, surfing the waves, the ups and downs of the markets and crypto Twitter, dodging psyops, dodging everything in his path to be one of the premier up-and-coming researchers and threaders out there in DeFi. DeFi Surfer 808, how are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thanks for the intro. That was awesome.
I got you. I mean, yeah, I feel like we're all in a way like surfing the chaotic waves of DeFi and crypto. And, I just want to get started on like, when did you start first catching waves? When did you first start in crypto? Let's go way back. Like, how'd you get your start? How'd you get into DeFi? And how'd you get into writing about it?
Yeah, that's a great starting point. Unfortunately, I showed up a little late. I got into crypto in late 2020. I was introduced to Bitcoin. Just for more background than you need, I come from like a TradFi background, like pretty typical. Got my MBA. I know that gets shit on a lot on the internet, but like,
well, Kiet has his MBA too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, bro. It's safe here. It's a safe space here.
Yeah, this is safe space for furthering education.
So I ignored
but
Bitcoin.
Don't put it on your Twitter bio though.
Oh, never. Wouldn't dare. Yeah, just ignored Bitcoin forever. And then it finally clicked the digital gold thesis in late 2020. I started off as a bit of a Bitcoin maxi. And then
natural path.
And then Ethereum just kept pumping. So I'm like, shit, I'm missing something over here. And then dug into DeFi, understood like the smart contract thesis, and then started playing around on chain. Literally at the top of the DeFi peak. I think this was in like May of 2021.
Okay, so like the Dogecoin field pump.
Yeah. I like found Aave. I'm going back. I found Aave and Sushi like at the top. Went through like that 70% drawdown in a couple of weeks. And for some crazy ass reason, I decided to stick around. I haven't left since.
The real one.
So you started playing around. What were your first reactions coming from TradFi, interacting with DeFi protocols like Aave and Compound and others?
It was very intimidating. I think I got a greater appreciation for like why, Bitcoin is one thing, but then to go and like put money like on the internet in self custody, interacting with all these apps that are like super foreign to you, like it gave me like a super good appreciation for why the 99% of consumers just aren't ready for this stuff.
Yeah. What do you think would make it less intimidating for the 99%, if that's even possible?
Yeah, this is like a great entree to like one of the themes we may or may not be talking about. Like I think that's where a company like Coinbase or Binance like have a huge opportunity. They could like abstract away all the complexity, all the risk associated with interacting with these contracts. So I mean,
Hmm.
Coinbase is an exchange, but one day it could be this like freeway into like the Web3 ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Coinbase and Binance are going for. I mean, CC has even said in past interviews that he expects most action for Binance to be on BNB chain within 5 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope
And
that's right for
Coinbase
my
has
bad.
base.
And yeah, they have base.
That's a pretty sick name for a layer two. You got to
Yeah.
give it to him.
Yeah, and so let's go up from there. So with Binance and BNB chain, which is often ignored by CT for whatever reason, let's talk about it a bit. Like, what's your BNB thesis? How do you feel like how protocols have evolved since the beginning of BNB till now? Now you have Level and you have Thana, and how do you think it has matured over the past months and years?
So my higher level thesis is like Bitcoin and ETH are kind of like the store of value. That's like the tip of the spear. And then where I think most of the user growth, the TVL growth, the revenue growth, if you want to go there, I think that's going to take
Hmm.
place at like the cheaper layer twos. Um, I think of Binance as like it's not technically a layer two, but it's ETH compatible. It's kind of like in the Ethereum ecosystem, and they
Hmm.
have this like
CVM.
exactly they have this like massive asset in Binance, which has like 90 million users. Whatever the proof of reserves is, 70, 80 billion. Basically, like dominate the ex-US market. Um, I think Binance will like funnel, whether forcefully or just through natural curiosity out of their customers, will funnel more users onto that chain over time. And I
Hmm.
think there's like this elite group of applications that will benefit from that transition. And if you look at the market caps of these applications versus, say, Ethereum, they're still like super, super small, even though like with pretty good conviction, if you just kind of set aside the risk around the regulatory risk, which is another conversation, they should
Hmm.
see a lot more user TVL transaction growth than Ethereum layer one. I can't understand like the Ethereum layer one kind of a lot of these applications feel mature. They're not moving as fast as some of these smaller
Hmm.
apps. But I'd love to get your guys' take. I wonder if you feel differently. There's Frax is an outlier because they seem to be spinning up like new products like crazy. But they're in a different bucket.
Yeah, Kit, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. In my opinion, I think like the super lindy names like Curve, Aave, Compound, they just frankly have to move slower because, well, if anything were to break, it will be a massive shock, like a systemic shock to the whole DeFi space, in my opinion. That's why they kind of have to move a little bit slower. That's why Curve USD and Go is taking like forever long to come out, right? That's at least my take for it. And you're absolutely right
Hmm.
that all the quote innovation and move fast break things are moving towards the layer twos. And I think kind of rightfully so, because people who kind of are on the layer twos right now are a bit more advanced, right? They're a bit more sophisticated to even know to go into layer twos and experiment with these new toys. So I think it's a right product market fit for the user types that's on layer twos.
Yeah, I think when it comes to new developments and especially developers in the developing world or global south that really can't afford to deploy on Ethereum layer one, they're going to go deploy on BNB chain. They're going to go deploy on L2s. They're going to go deploy wherever it's cheapest. BNB right now is probably the best candidate just because there's so many users, and they're often small users. But I expect there to be, and they don't have to be like the most complicated, like DeFi, like leverage this, that, new novel financial product. No, it just has to have like a slick UI. It should work and should feel comfortable to the user. And I feel like that's most likely to come on like BNB chain or maybe Polygon or something. I know like with ZK Sync 1.0, I'm close with the Zigzag founder, and most of like the trades that happen on there are from, are like small trades from people from all over the world, and people just trade that because it's cheap. And I think it's so simple yet so underestimated. Like cost does matter. Like people do pay, like especially like people even in the back of heads, they pay like, oh, like how much gas is this and that. Like most people at least. So,
Totally agree.
but
Yeah.
on the other side, most of the liquidity right now is still on ETH. It's still like this gravity. It's still like the center of it all, the liquidity black hole, and people pay that premium in gas for that liquidity. And that has a moat, and I don't know how soon that will go away.
Well, I
Maybe,
100% agree with that. I'm just more
Yeah.
focused on where's the growth going to come from.
Where's the growth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see it on the L2s. You're definitely seeing the emergence of this app chain thesis, of like, first it was like, the fat chain theory. Now it's fat app theory. And so what are your thoughts on like the app thesis that, L2, like people are just going to create their own app chains, this and that, how Frax has mentioned toying with the idea of a Frax chain before.
App chain, I think if you have a really compelling application, it can work. Like DYDX is maybe a good example. Like they have a great product. They have so many token listings, et cetera, et cetera. On the other hand, if you all are on a shared chain, you benefit from like a network effect. You can like move from one app to the other seamlessly, relatively easily. And with something like Ethereum, you can have like a shared currency across all these different families of chains. So like, for a compelling application, I think the app chain thesis works fine. But for like building an internet native financial system ecosystem, I think like having a shared chain across a bunch of applications makes the most sense to me. Like if your DYDX started out as Ethereum, correct me if I'm wrong, and then they gain critical mass and mind share, and then they went app chain. I think if you're like a scrappy young protocol, you have to
start off.
You have to be looking at like Arbitrum. I'm very bullish on Arbitrum. So I think there's a lot of network effects to a shared chain.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Arbitrum. Recently we've seen their airdrop. Finally, it kind of felt a little bit like Uniswap, like round 2 again. Like how even if you just like bridged over, you got some of the airdrop, which was like pretty cool to see. So what are your thoughts on Arbitrum, the airdrop, and what, more importantly, like what protocols do you like up and coming on Arbitrum?
So Arbitrum, you look at the like, this is a funny conversation. I'm really ambivalent about like if you just scroll through the top 100 chains, like top 100 cryptos, very 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 few of their valuations make any sense. But if you do like the crypto native comps exercise, like, oh, Avalanche is this, Solana is this, Cardano, if you want to go there, talks about is this. Arbitrum at, I think it's like 1.4, 1.5 billion right now. Like circulating market cap looks like a major outlier relative to like its user growth, transaction growth, its revenue generation. So depending on the macro backdrop for the next year before the unlocks start occurring, it seems like it probably does okay, I would think, the token itself. On the ecosystem, up and coming stuff, I mean, I really love GMX. I think it's just GMX like appeals to a TradFi person. It's just like simple to understand. It like makes a lot of money.
It makes a lot of money.
Makes a lot of money. And there's like, I think like, this could be totally wrong, but I think there's like probably an arbitrage in crypto that plays out over a few years where cash flow generation it like cash flow generation seems mispriced in crypto. Like stuff moves on things not related to fundamentals. That like 95% of the time it's like hype,
Right.
narrative, etc.
Narratives.
It's all mimetic energy. All
yeah. So something like GMX that's attacking a huge TAM is kind of growing organically at very high rates. It's like generating robust cash flow. It trades at like a pretty low multiple. It kind of checks every box you'd want as a TradFi person. In terms of like, oh, go ahead.
I like to say that GMX has perfect product market fit. Like, you know, it was like built for degens. It was built for traders. It was basically built for people that are savvy enough to have like not only like, you know, interact with ETH, but also make it and bridge over to Arbitrum. And they really they were early. They captured that audience. Like hell, they were on BNB chain, I believe, first under Gambit, and they were just able to evolve and build a killer product that brings in a lot of revenue.
Yeah, I mean, go for it.
Go ahead, Kit.
I just want to add a last point. I think GMX was the right product in the right place at the right time for the right users. Like it just had all of those confluencing factors just kind of play into its growth. And with the more GLP in there, the better product it is. So it's kind of like this nice little flywheel that it got for itself. You know, that's at least my take on GMX.
Yeah. I mean, like I've been surprised. Like the organic growth just keeps, like its open interest just keeps going up. So like the product has a lot of flaws. I don't think anyone would argue that.
What do you think about GLP and its sustainability over time?
The fees that they charge relative to the utilization of each of the trading pairs like solves a lot of that risk. It is a risk though. Like if King were to go on a hot streak, you know, maybe it could impair it. It's really hard to do that consistently, as I think we've seen. But it'll always be there, that outlier risk. I think they're trying.
Like who will be the George Soros of GMX?
You need a lot of size.
Yeah.
Maybe Kobe one day.
Yeah, maybe.
Actually, I want to double click back.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned something about valuation earlier, and I wanted to jump in there, but you mentioned the circulating supply of ARB is at this level. When you do like the crypto comps analysis, you kind of see that as an outlier. What is your take on circulating supply versus FDV?
It depends on whether I want to be bullish or bearish.
Show me your bias and I'll give you your evidence.
No, honestly though, like I think all that matters is like liquidity, and you know, if those tokens aren't there weighing on the price, it doesn't matter from a practical perspective. To the extent that it like turns people away from buying the coin, it'll matter. But I don't know, like you go back and look at like some of the circulating market caps these coins got at the peak of the bull cycle, like nobody gave a shit about the FDV.
Nobody gave a fuck about the FDV at the top.
Yeah, no. Didn't like Filecoin get like 100 billion FDV at the top? Or like there was some outrageous,
some ludicrous. Yeah, that's true. That's very fair.
Yeah. I want to go.
Oh, go for it.
I want to go back to the topic at hand with Arbitrum. Outside of GMX, are there any other up and coming protocols you like?
I really like Camelot.
What do you like about them?
It's kind of we'll see if this is sustainable. Like it might not be, but they've got like amazing BD, and they've attracted all these like new upcoming tokens to launch on their platform. So it looks like they're building out a moat on liquidity on all these like cool new projects that are popping up. So it's kind of like a lazy way to make a bet across like a family of, you know, new I was going to say shit coins, but that's a little disparaging a family of
All frame of reference again.
a new up and coming family of tokens.
Yeah, I actually used Camelot the other day. Actually, quite a nice UI and user experience.
I think the website's really high quality. They have like great
Yeah,
analytics. They have like a lot of value accrual for users between the burn and the dividends they pay. It's like a really well designed protocol.
and the fact that it's Arbitrum native is such an advantage to, like, let's say like Uniswap or SushiSwap, which is just like, oh, let's just deploy on here. Like, always the native protocols do so much better. Like, even look at Velodrome on Optimism. Like,
Oh yeah, they're killing it.
yeah, like literally have like Optimism, on lock there.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
And Joe did a killer job on AVAX.
Oh yeah.
There's something to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Joe actually, they've been in the news recently with they deployed their V3 like pools, and they have been doing quite well because they launched an Arbitrum too, right?
Yeah, that DeFi
Yeah.
Maestro guy. He's bringing a lot of hype to Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Joe V3 moving to Arbitrum and and everything going on over there?
The stats are like super impressive around like the liquidity versus the volume. It's like insane the numbers they're doing.
Mhm.
So they're definitely onto something. I'm kind of I don't like Joe's website. This is gonna sound stupid.
Is it too cartoonish for you because you've said that in the past?
Yeah. I always find myself like going to Uniswap to trade. I used to go to Sushi a bunch, but I've been going to Uniswap lately. That's like a dumb, like irrational thing, but they're not, their numbers are definitely like crazy good. So they're onto something.
Yeah. I was going to also ask, with V3 expiring, actually, it was expiring in 2 days. So, I mean, it'll expire after the interview is out. But what do you think the ramifications of, V3's patent, well, not whatever it is, copyright patent, like basically expiring in April 1st, anybody can go fork it. What do you think the effects are that going to be? What do you think is that going to be a challenge to Uniswap being forked a lot? Do you think Uniswap has enough of a moat? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, I guess Joe's a preview of that.
I think it's great for the ecosystem to have that. The what's the terminology? The
competition?
No. The liquidity. The I'm blanking right now. The V3 is all about, like the
concentrated liquidity.
It was like on the tip of my tongue. I mean, having that tech across the entire ecosystem is going to be great, and for teams that execute, it's an opportunity to grab share. We have, like, there's something about these OG protocols, Uni, Aave, Frax, like, etc. Like the liquidity they have is really sticky. The trust they have is really sticky. So like new capital coming in. They know, like,
Lindy builds.
Exactly. Like, you go to Uniswap, you're going to attract a lot of volume, users, etc. So like liquidity has been far more defendable for Uniswap than I would have guessed. So that's been pretty surprising. So I don't know. There'll be some changes in the short term, but I don't know if it structurally changes much. We'll see.
Yeah. I think this would be a big deal for new chains and up and coming chains that don't have a lot of liquidity to begin with. And then you introduce something like Uniswap V3 or V3 like, provisioning available on that chain. Well, you can actually get like sizable and good trade execution, trade orders on those low liquidity chains because of Uniswap V3 or in like forks that will come out. So I think, this is a really big deal for, existing L2s, new chains coming out.
Any chains you're eyeing that might be big beneficiaries?
Not really. Frax chain. I'm just kidding.
Great answer.
When are they launch?
Yeah, I not one in particular. Honestly, like more of my interest is because I feel like all the chains are the same, honestly. I guess like I mean all the zkEVMs came out, but have you guys used zkEVM at all? Have you guys tried it out? Like
Not yet.
Polygon, zkEVM, or zkSync yet?
I haven't. The only reason I came to Arbitrum was because of Topex.
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah, like it's funny because like there was just such this hype around the zkEVM narrative, yet none of us has even tried to use zkEVM yet.
There's nothing
I
to
was
do
just
there,
narrative-driven.
right? Like,
There's nothing to do. It's narrative. Yeah, it's like the news is over. There's nothing to do there yet.
is any app like
Well, I
pulling
mean-
you to zk?
What were you gonna say, Kit?
I said you could still go on there and sybil the airdrop, I suppose. That's always a use case for a new chain.
Oh yeah, airdrop. Oh my god, all the airdrop farmers are just like feeling so redeemed with Arbitrum.
Bro,
I'm surprised how generous the Arbitrum airdrop was, to be honest.
the freaking threads that have popped up about farming airdrops are out of control.
I hate it. I hate it
Redditors
so
need to
much.
stop.
They won't. Well, at the end of the day, like think about like the masses and like what the masses are thinking about. They want to like make money as quickly and easy as possible. And what is as quick and easy as money from falling from the sky?
Free money.
Honestly, free money. Just literally bridge. It's bridge over. Go like trade. Go do stuff on chain that you would normally do on another chain, but on our chain. Yeah, I mean, like we have it good right now, fellas. We really do have it good.
Yeah, we really
And the
do.
airdrop threaders are gonna ruin it. Yeah, like
Arbitrum's something special though. It's not like
it is.
how many like
Yeah.
ghost layer ones are there?
Oh yeah.
Ton.
I mean, and it's at this time in the bear, you know, when all the hype subsides and all the liquidity gets pulled back like waves into the ocean, that you really see who's real and who has their pants on or bathing suit on. And Arbitrum is one of them. Arbitrum, it's like Arbitrum, Polygon, BNB chain. You know, they're the ones that have like really showed strength in this time of retraction.
So like I'm not familiar with zk. What's if you're like a Polygon user, like what would pull you from Polygon to zk? From
know.
Ethereum, the value prop of Arbitrum is like super friggin' obvious. It's like cheaper
Yeah.
Ethereum.
What if like zkEVM was overblown after all?
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah. What if people are just like, I mean, think about it. User experience wise, like, what's the difference between like optimistic rollups and zkEVM? Unless like one's like dramatically cheaper. That's the only thing.
I don't. Cap, you gotta.
Isn't also
you
the
gotta
privacy bit? Yeah, isn't it the privacy
I mean,
bit
like-
too? Like I know privacy
are they
is kind of
private?
like. I mean, isn't that the whole premise of zero knowledge? Is that it kind of bakes in privacy at the base level, right? So I mean, I know nobody
Yeah,
really cares about privacy, though. That's like you're putting a premium on something that no one cares about right now.
I think people care about privacy. I think people are caring about it more. But I don't know if like zkEVM has privacy built in like that. I don't know if like these new zkEVM chains do.
I'm
Definitely
looking
gotta
at
research.
Zcash. I'm not sure people care about privacy.
Yeah. I mean, as long as, but people won't go out of their way to. People just want stuff that's easy and cheap. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down
Yeah,
to.
I think that's right.
Actually, this
And like-
brings me to a question for you, Surfer. Is like you mentioned growth earlier in the call, and I'm on the pod, and I'm thinking like growth in what sense? Should we build more products for the current users that we have now, or should we build products for the more quote mass retail super beginner type? Because we see a lot of financial product innovation on Arbitrum, like some really complex stuff. Like we love it, but is that the right product for kind of like the masses? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're on Arbitrum, you're probably pretty sophisticated, and you're in like a pretty small minority of folks that are crypto savvy. So if you're building on Arbitrum, you're probably building for that relatively niche audience. I think it's look. Solana is like we could go there. Like the Solana, it's kind of had this major fall from grace. Like that, you can look at the
Mm-hmm.
TVL of the chain. Like DeFi is not even a thing there anymore, and they're trying to pivot the narrative to being like the consumer focused chain. Well,
I feel like they've been trying to do that.
yeah, I mean, we'll see if they crack the code, but it's like it's really hard to onboard the long tail of unsophisticated consumers into crypto.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll succeed, but I think somebody like a Coinbase who has like 100 million accounts, I think like they're a more natural candidate to do that exercise of getting folks on chain. I don't know. Do you guys have a different view?
Yeah, and I agree with you. Coinbase, Binance, they're in the absolute best position to get the masses on chain. They're literally the on-off ramp. They offer like the most important services, which is like on-off ramp and custody. Like, for people that don't want to worry about like their coins or like, flipping on and off into cash every day, they can just go there. And I think they have the best experience. They have the teams. They have the customer support to maybe not customer support, but I imagine they'll develop the customer support over time to guide people along in their on-chain journey. Like I think like the best way to look at these like L2s, these L2, hey, maybe they'll do it with AI. I think plug. I think the best way to look at these like L2s and like all L1s and stuff is, I think Sam said this a while ago, that think of BNB chain as just like a Binance SDK, but just like you just like interact with it like it's a public SDK that you just like interact with. And so like if you like look at it as like a public facing computer, so yeah.
I just want to say one thing really. The moment you said customer support, I just thought of what blockchain would have a 1-800 help number. Like if you have an issue, you dial 1-800 blockchain and you get to talk to a customer rep on the other side to walk you through it.
It would probably be AI. AI would be the thing that could handle this. Like maybe not. I don't know. I mean AI is a whole nother conversation, to be honest. Like if think about like how do you like that's the thing with beginners is like they're so, as you said in the beginning, DeFi Surfer, they're so intimidated for good reason, because it's like interacting, self-custody and all that, that they need someone to guide them along. Like I'm sure like all of us, when we first got into crypto, we didn't know like, our head from our toes. And we had people to help us along and answer our questions. No one ever does it alone. And so like the question is like, how can we most efficiently like get those people on chain, like with that in mind?
Can I play devil's advocate on both of you guys right now? Because both of you guys are very bullish on Binance Chain and Coinbase and Base and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, well, if they're going to be the ones that bring on mass retail and et cetera, then what's the bull case for layer 2 Arbitrum or any of these other L2 protocols that is building product for the super complex and super niche? Like, isn't there a clear cap if we're not going to go after the mass retail?
I don't think that Binance and Coinbase are going to capture everything, but I think I think there'll be bridges, no pun intended, to these other chains as well. I mean, like even like right now, you can deposit and withdraw USDC on Polygon on Coinbase, and I'm sure they'll add Arbitrum and other chains in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you're on chain, like the intimidation factor goes down. Like you go from base to like just bridging is like the incremental thing you need to learn, and it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's boarding school. It's it's your training wheels on the BNB chains and polygons, and then if you want to go to the more degen protocols, Arbitrum's waiting for you there. Which I actually want to go back to Arbitrum. You said something like Arbitrum's just special. What do you think makes Arbitrum so special? Was it like in the beginning, the kind of community that coalesced around it? Was it how the community, like the team presented themselves and presented Arbitrum? Like what do you think like Arbitrum did right?
They hired Size Chad.
They hired Size Chad.
He's an amazing
Single
asset
source of
for them.
success. Yes, yes.
Of course.
Well, I mean, like the one thing they did really well is they were very consistent in saying like ETH is going to be the gas token from the very beginning. That set them apart in all these like scam chains that wanted to be like ETH killers. So being like very pro ETH, very centered around scaling ETH, allowed them to attract really talented developers. And I think it was like Dopex that was like the first prominent DeFi protocol that took that risk to jump to Arbitrum. And that really just started a cascade of like getting a lot of developer mindshare in the Ethereum community. What I think separates Arbitrum from like a sea of cheap fast chains is like they just have like a lot of sweet applications. They like you could say that about ETH Layer 1. That's what makes it special too. It has like these really cool applications. And
Yeah, it has this network effect.
yeah, exactly. You get some sweet applications. It attracts more users. It attracts more devs. It's a virtuous cycle. Yeah, and they're very much they have Ethereum values. That wasn't the obvious call like 2 years ago at the peak of the bull market.
Yeah.
So I think that's paying dividends for them now.
Yeah, no, I think if you asked anybody like 2-3 years from now, they would think that, other chains or other L2s would be like out in front, and Arbitrum kind of just came out of nowhere as this kind of like dark horse, and was able to capture the mind share of the developer class. And like you said, like they had these Ethereum values, they made it very friendly towards developers, and you get one cool protocol on there like what Dopex, and then you get a GMX, and then everybody wants to build on top or with them. So
yeah, they made a lot of like really good decisions early on, and it's paying off in spades.
Yeah. I want to shift course here from talking about layer twos to talking about stablecoins. So a few weeks ago, Sam, founder of Frax, introduced this concept of stablecoin maximalism, which is basically the theory that, over a long enough period of time, every protocol, whether it's GMX, whether it's Dopex, no matter what it is, they're going to have their own stablecoin eventually. What are your thoughts on this concept? Do you agree or disagree with it, and why?
It just seems like a pain in the butt to manage so many different stable coins. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't. It isn't necessary that every protocol will have a stablecoin, but a stablecoin will be essential to its existence, and I think that's another way of saying liquidity will be essential to its existence. Like, I think a good way to look at this and frame this is what happened with Binance with BUSD. Like, you can say like BUSD was the stablecoin of Binance, and then when BUSD got knocked by regulations and stuff, and they had to wind that down. Well, they had to find a new stablecoin, and like right now, it's looking like it's going to be TUSD. So right now we saw what happened with USDC a few weeks ago, whole Silvergate situation, blah blah blah. Like, you're going to have these different protocols like look to either create their own stablecoins, like whether it's Go for Aave, CRV-USD for Curve, or maybe integrate a stablecoin like Frax that takes care of the liquidity problem for you because they're in the liquidity business.
I mean, like intuitively, you would think the stable coins would have some of the most powerful network effects of any crypto protocol. It's like you what do you want a stable coin for? Just to represent a dollar, and then like you just want to take it with you wherever you go. And the one with the most liquidity should win out, kind of like the US dollar has won out over time amongst like I don't know how many global currencies are there, like a couple hundred. I mean, like for a big application that wants to capture the value of a stable coin, they have a lot of users, they have a lot of capital. Like it'll make sense in those niche scenarios. But like I would think that like the industry will center around one over time. And USDC took a huge knock with this recent Silicon Valley issue. I'm kind of scratching my head at this like huge rotation into Tether. Like the US is going after Binance, and like Tether's probably not far behind. So yeah, I mean
Tethers are the euro dollars of stable coins. They're like offshore. They're not really part of the system. They're kind of this black box, but they're there and they've been around the longest. So
Yeah,
you know,
but like in the CFTC complaint, there's accusations that Binance helped facilitate terrorism, and I'm sure Tether is probably not all that different. They probably don't have a lot of controls around who's using their coin.
yeah,
There's gonna be, it's impossible to see now. Tether has like crazy good momentum, but there's gonna be problems.
yeah. You know, everybody has their day in the sun, and everybody has their problems.
Well,
Everybody the rainy days.
I think that's why USDC is so interesting, is because like they have a lot of similarities with Coinbase. They're like the furthest along in this like regulatory like I don't know what you would call it, like just a clusterfuck. So they're like
Yes.
the closest to getting like the the regulatory go ahead of being like this clean US dollar representation.
Mhm.
I think they are in the best position to win the long term race. Tether is like sketchy, dude.
Yeah,
It
I
works, but it's like
I think they make a good like duality and dichotomy of like one is, if you want to choose like the open regulated onshore dollar, there's USDC. But if you want the other one, if you want like, more of like the offshore dollar, which the majority of Asia does choose and like the majority of the rest of the world does choose and centralized exchanges do choose, it's Tether. Personally, I like to hold like USDC. I like to hold Frax. I like to hold like all these. Hell, we hold a bunch of Frax at Flywheel as part of our grant, and it's been quite useful. And so, but we all have our choices.
well, I
Yeah,
think this the CivB thing was extremely unfortunate. Like if they didn't have to adhere to banking hours, I don't think there would have been this run.
a
Folks would have
problem. Yeah,
redeemed. It would have come nowhere close to getting to the 3
Mhm.
billion you would have had to have needed to like actually impair the coin. Like none of that would have happened.
yeah,
Whereas like Tether, you have no fucking idea what their reserves are, if they're good for their reserves. So
yeah.
I think like once, I don't know whether it's USDC, someone else, like once some coin gets like this US approved stamp, the
Hmm.
market probably like centers around that coin, I would guess, over time.
Yeah. Uh,
I don't know
FDIC
if you,
insured wallet for all
I mean, you know,
USDCs.
yeah.
Imagine.
But let's touch on like the Silvergate situation because you've written about that before. That happened a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on everything that went down that weekend? Um, you know, and how just yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
And all the aftermath too with the banking
And all the
crisis
aftermath.
and things like that.
that whole situation is very frustrating. The like my perception of what happened is like Silvergate was the one closest to FTX with that whole debacle, and that like spooked the shit out of their depositors, and they had like a huge drawdown in deposits in Q4, and it never really left. Like the FUD like kept going. They kept seeing like steady outflows, and they
Hmm.
unfortunately had to liquidate. Um, that was even before the Silicon Valley and signature
Yeah,
issues. So
it's that and the combination of rising interest rates and money markets having attractive yields where people are like, oh, like why do I have my money sitting in Silvergate when I can go just chase this money market mutual fund?
yeah, that's definitely part of it. Um, but like this, I mean, they went from like 14 billion of deposits to zero in like 5 months. I think most of that was fear driven.
Yeah.
The most frustrating part of like the Silvergate and signature issues is like there has been no proof that there was any wrongdoing. It's all like hearsay. But like that hearsay was enough to freak their customers out to withdraw funds from the bank, which caused them to go under. So like I don't know. I don't know if Silvergate did anything wrong, but like here they are. Their equity's worthless. So the whole
Yeah.
thing's really shitty.
Yeah. What's your take on, and this all happens in the backdrop of Operation Chokepoint 2.0, heavy regulatory pressure from the executive branch. What's your take on the current regulatory climate in the US right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great.
Not great. Not great. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And as it relates to the whole what happened a few weeks ago with like Silvergate, this and that.
yeah, I mean, it's you see the headlines and everybody knows Silvergate and Signature Bank because they're like the crypto franchises. But like I have contacts at Circle, at Coinbase, and even like a company like Block. There's like 4,000 banks in the U.S. 4,000. That's a big number. Most countries have like 10 to 20, like some tiny ass number. And
Mm-hmm.
what these like new fintechs, including crypto fintechs, can bring is a lot of business to these like shitty low growth banks. And so like yeah, Signature and Silvergate are gone, but there's like a couple handfuls, 10 to 15 of these smaller banks that are chomping at the bit to replace these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
so
I got a question for you.
oh, go for it.
How can DeFi and crypto, bring life back to these, small sleepy banks, maybe even credit unions?
You got to ask 0x Hams for that. He's the banks guy.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll come on podcast though.
Yeah, he doesn't like
I know. I've talked to him. I'm like, dude, come on. He's like, I can't. I'm like, all right.
it's obviously like a huge opportunity, and like I think Maker tried to take some steps in that direction, and like the real world lending.
It's hard. It's hard.
Super hard. Yeah, it's super hard. But like, there's 1.2 trillion of capital tied up in crypto. I'm
Mhm.
sure there's like thousands of crypto wealthy folks who would want to borrow against their crypto and buy something in the real world. It's got to be like a big market if somebody can crack it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think
I
the
want to
stablecoin environment? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Kate.
before we move to the stablecoin environment, I want to dig in a bit deeper in the banking crisis because DeFi Surfer, you tweeted something saying that like, is this going to be a one-off or is this going to be a change in the trend for the Fed QE? Could you elaborate more on your thoughts here?
So like when initially it all went down, they rolled out this bank term funding program BTFP that enabled banks to like lend to the Fed and borrow from the Fed to plug the hole from deposits that are leaving the bank. So I had thought it was a trend that bank deposits would flee the system and they would have to keep tapping BTFP to plug this hole, and any borrowing on BTFP is a creation of money. It's a credit. So I thought like that was a secular trend, like these banks would all tap BTFP, the BTFP funding program would keep going up, and then like we'd have effectively new QE. I think what's actually happening is it seems like deposit outflows have stabilized and now they're more manageable. So these banks are like selling securities to fund the hole left by departing deposits. So I think it's looking like it's a one-off, and the Feds might go back to reducing its balance sheet. So that's why I'm a bit cautious in the near term. It looks like we're gonna like inflation's not really solved yet, and like no one on the Fed is like talking about easing off the gas. So I think it's like a little tricky situation right now. Do you guys have a take?
I think the question is like, will the go ahead, Kate.
Oh, no, go ahead, Dave.
The main question is like, will the BTFP program actually end after the year? You hear arguments for and against. It's like once you start like, for example, like quantitative easing, like it's all quantitative easy, like all the way down. It never really ended, and so even if they, let's say if BTFP like does end, I'm sure if like some liquidity crisis happens in the future, they'll either like bring it back or like just call it a different name.
No, the U.S.'s fiscal situation is fucked, like long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have to keep
Yeah.
debasing the dollar. I think it's just a tactical question of like when do we get that inflection, and I think it might be a bit further away than right now.
I think like, well, you're at the end of the day, it's about like who's holding your debt, who's holding dollars, and as like this multipolar world comes into being, and more country to country trade settles in other currencies or in gold, the reliance on the dollar just naturally just goes down. So it is concerning as a as a dollar holder per se to see this happen, because it affects all of us, who holds dollars.
Yeah, that's why we got to hold, something like ETH.
Something like yeah,
Preserve our
or
wealth.
Balchi is a great term. Inside money and outside money. Outside money is like ETH, Bitcoin, gold, real estate. That's really your hedge against all of this. Inside money that seems to be going down. Not seems to be, is going down. Because the house is just not in order.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, what's really going on here is like we're building a new financial system that's more honest than the existing one. I think that's the core structural trend of what's happening, and it's just kind of lost in all this like degenerate NFT like yield farming stuff.
And like, what does crypto and DeFi actually bring that's so revolutionary? And this is what it is. That's what I was talking about this with actually Drake the other day. And he was talking about how, because everything's transparent and on chain, it's much harder to do something like full scale fractional reserve banking, like that banks do in traditional finance. Like you pretty much have to be full reserve. On chain. Otherwise, people can just like see your balance sheet. The reason why fractional reserve banking works is because people like can't see the balance sheets immediately of all these different banks.
Nobody knows every bank's technically insolvent.
Yeah. Like no one. It's all a confidence game. Exactly. But I was actually thinking about this the other day. It's like, okay, you need to have like full reserves at all times. So like, what can we do to like, have like credit flow through the system in like a full reserve system? And I think the key to it is locked liquidity, is like having incentives for like having liquidity locked for long periods of time. And that's like the only way we'll have like they can even like attempt to do some type of like fractional reserve banking. And you can like, that's basically been like the only reason why Frax has been successful in its hybrid model. I mean, yes, it's going to 100% right now, but it's been successful because they've had locked liquidity, like hundreds of millions of dollars locked in all, in Curve and Uniswap and everywhere. Yep. So that's kind of, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
So you need to do a governance proposal to get VEUSD into Congress right now. That's what it sounds like, to get some locked liquidity and some gauges going. But speaking of balance sheets, though, like Dave, you mentioned this, and DeFi Surfer, you tweeted this. I was looking at this earlier too. Is that the Fed finally actually started decreasing their balance sheet? Right, we started seeing that actual dip again, and that didn't take long. The crisis was like 2 weeks ago, the whole bank run situation, and now we're kind of back to tightening. And then I wanted to overlay that with this narrative now that the media is pushing, where the dollar is being weakened, right, on the backdrop of the yuan settling its natural gas settlement in yuan, the ASEAN countries moving to their local currency instead of the reserve currencies of the world. And then lastly was the Saudi trade alliance with the China, Russia, India, and I think it was Pakistan. Like, with all of that backdrop, isn't it kind of funny how the media is like trying to push this narrative that's like, hey, we're going to do a lot more QE, things are going to be easier. But if you check the charts and if you look at the data, it's like, no, dollar is still frankly quite strong. And the Fed is not QEing anytime soon because inflation is still 4%, right? So...
yeah, I don't know where this narrative is coming from the media. The media... my perception of the media changed a lot during the Trump administration, and then it just went to zero during COVID.
It's crypto. Yeah.
And they were just lying to us every single day. So I don't know what the media is getting. The dollar, like 60% of world trade or something like that settles in the dollar. You don't just flip a switch and all of a sudden it's not the reserve currency.
Yeah. And like, what would exactly replace the dollar?
Nope.
Like, I don't see a fiat currency replacing it.
Dude, Ethereum.
Ethereum, yeah.
Duh.
Do you think Ethereum's more likely to replace it than Bitcoin?
What's that?
Do you think Ethereum is more likely to replace it than Bitcoin?
You want to go there? How many Bitcoin?
I want to go there. We're going there. We're going there, Mr.
Okay.
Surfer.
I mean, like Bitcoin's OG. It like was the first. It has a lot of virtues of its own, but like it has a shitload of problems. Like it's super expensive to maintain the network. They're like emitting like, what is it, 10 billion, 20 billion a year. That number grows as Bitcoin's price grows. It's like I think it's Ryan Berkman or something like that has a lot of great threads on like why it's unsustainable. Like if Bitcoin went to $1 million, the cost to maintain the network are astronomical. Like there's no fucking way it would work. Like unless the US government started buying Bitcoin or something. That's the main issue. There's the secondary stuff like electricity consumption is like massive. Then you have like the non-programmability, which like severely limits its utility.
Everything you're saying is what I like about Bitcoin, though. I like how it's just dumb. It's just like a pet rock. I like how it uses, like the way like it uses power. It's like proof of work. It's like kind of a measures energy. Like it's kind of like I wouldn't say direct, but like as direct as you can get. Like you need power to generate Bitcoin, and so that's everything you're saying is like what I actually like about Bitcoin, and I think like Bitcoin and Ethereum exist in this, like I said, dichotomy.
Oh, I mean, like don't get me wrong. Like Bitcoin is still the king, and like clearly the value prop resonates very strongly. I do think that when all is said and done, 20 years from now or whatever the number is, Bitcoin will be relegated to a niche, like kind of like gold is kind of nichey in the context of the world's net worth. I think Ethereum has like the bigger opportunity to be like the money of the internet. It can be this like income producing asset and it'll start competing with like real estate or dividend stocks. And then like you can actually fucking use it. You can like program shit on the internet native to Ethereum. That's just something Bitcoin you can't do. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's my ETH maxi spiel.
No, I'm definitely more of an ETH maxi, but I feel like I have ebbs and flows into Bitcoin. It's so charming. Wait, Kit, what are you gonna say?
All of us are kind of like ETH maxis on the inside, but we try to be objective and love all. But let's talk quickly about this ETHBTC ratio that you said. DeFi Surfer said there's a magnet to 0.05. Why so? Is there no alt season this year, or what's going on here?
I was trying to be provocative was the main thing. The engagement on that tweet was pretty shitty. I mean, like, if you look at USDC it's really interesting. Tether like freaking dominates trading. There's like something like 500 crypto exchanges all over the world, and Tether is like the monopoly. Like every fucking exchange, including Binance, uses Tether. USDC is not tracked into that market at all. Where USDC dominates is DeFi. That's like yield farming, trading on chain, providing an LP on a swap platform like Uniswap. USDC flows are super fucking negative. I don't know if you've like seen the chart. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, recently.
Yeah. So like liquidity is coming out of DeFi. There's a lot of risk aversion right now. Yeah, it's not very bullish for alts in the near term.
Yeah. Talk about a negative flywheel.
Yeah, seriously.
If only there was some stablecoin to replace USDC as the reserve currency of on-chain DeFi. I don't know what it could be.
Like, okay, this is a great time to flip the script. Like my beef with Frax is like they have like 5 developers or whatever the number is. Like
actually 7.
How the hell are you ever? Seven. Circle has 1,000 employees. Coinbase has 5,000. Like, how the heck are you gonna like go out there and do the work of like getting Frax out in the marketplace?
Well, I think in terms of Frax development, they have performed and shipped faster than probably like any protocol out there over the past 2 years. They built a whole DeFi Trinity stablecoin maximalist ecosystem, all running on the Frax stablecoin. But I hear what you're saying, like, you know, how do you compete with that? But I think with smart contracts, you don't need as many, you know, employees, and like one excellent smart contract dev and dev in general is worth like, you know, 5-10 employees. And so I think the Frax team, from just like knowing them, is just a lot more efficient in that regard. And right now, like I said earlier in the interview, like Frax is primarily in liquidity business, and they're trying to, you know, be the kingmaker of liquidity on chain. And like that's been this, you know, that's what they've been doing over the past few years with like their dominance of the curve and convex ecosystems. But in terms of like getting to that like next level, I think it will take, you know, definitely more building around the ecosystem in the same way like devs build on Ethereum. You need like economists and like devs to build on Frax. And so I think that just comes with, you know, incentives, grants, which is something that we're working on here with Flywheel, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so like we're actually planning a Frax hackathon soon. It will be the first Frax hackathon because there's plenty of stuff that they want built. And they just, you know, they can't do everything, obviously, because there's only 7 devs. One really interesting project that we love here at Flywheel, that's building on Frax, is Pitch. Well, it's Pitch. They have big announcements coming along the way. I can't say anything, but Pitch money.
Just
check them out.
Yeah.
Just to add a slight color and timeline to this thing, right? Circle's been around, I would say, since 2017, right? If anything, early 2018.
2013.
2013 even. And then Coinbase is 2012, right? Or 2011. Like Coinbase is even older. So these guys have almost a decade on Frax. Frax has been around since 2023. We just celebrated a 2-year anniversary not too long ago. So I feel like if you were to put them on the same time scale, I think that's a much better way to judge them rather than this snapshot in time right now. Obviously, it's very much a David versus Goliath vibe, for sure. But I definitely think David. Yes. Oh my god, I just totally get that. Yes.
It's been 3 months since the Frax 2-year anniversary meetup. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
time flies.
But like you go to Gains Network, they have their DAI vault. Like, why didn't they choose Frax?
Why didn't they choose? You have to ask the Gains guy that. Maybe I would assume it'd have to do with like liquidity on Arbitrum. Maybe DAI has more liquidity on Arbitrum than Frax. But because you saw you know, in 2021 during Olympus and Olympus fork season, you know, they chose Frax. Frax became the reserve currency of all the Olympus forks.
Right.
And so, you know, I think like when Frax has like more of the initiative and they are to, you know, bring more liquidity and have more action on Arbitrum, you're going to see like Gains or, you know, protocols like Gains make the choice to Frax. And actually today in the governance forum, there was a proposal to launch Fraxland on Arbitrum with the Frax Arb pair. So you can
go.
Yeah, there we go. We got some action, and you know, I was trying to get Frax more on Arbitrum even like back in the summer when I was talking to the Umami people. I'm like, oh, like maybe we can like increase Frax's allocation in the GLP pool, you know, and Frax is already in the GLP pool. It was like interesting exploring like the, you know, what's possible there, what were the bottlenecks at the time. But I think now with the ARB token out, you know, I think this is like the go for Frax to really, you know, pedal to the metal on Arbitrum.
That's why you guys need to hire more people. You need to be pounding the pavement.
That's us. That's literally
get in front of Gains.
We are pounding the pavement for Frax at Flywheel. We keep it spinning. We keep it locked. We keep it loaded. Yep. So So you know, I like to think of ourselves as the diplomatic wing of Frax, the community-funded grassroots diplomatic mission of Frax, getting out there to different protocols. I actually consider these interviews kind of a soft BD, a soft public BD. You know, whether it's like a protocol, we're talking to them, is seeing like what partnerships we could do, or like talking to you, informing you, addressing your concerns. It's like that's what we do. And you know, Frax supports us with grants. They give us a pretty fat grant a few months ago to like keep doing what we're doing at $214K for the year, and we just plan to scale up from here, like the soul part, the BD part, the Riz part.
I mean, it's a great time for an alternative to the two leaders. Like USDC is obviously on its ass, and like Tether's gonna come under more scrutiny. Like it's gonna happen. So
speaking of coming at the king and not missing, have you seen Frax V3?
I have not.
You have not. Well, Sam the other day tweeted, I think it was just yesterday or 2 days. I don't even know what day it is anymore. But very recently, Sam tweeted Frax V3 with a sh. And Twitter went wild. It was, what's V3? So the last major upgrade to Frax was Frax V2, and that's when Frax introduced its AMOs, which became a foundational part of the protocol. It's basically a way for Frax to keep its peg using other protocols. So it's a pretty big upgrade. It's a pretty monumental upgrade, and we've seen the success. We've seen the success of AMOs. A lot of protocols have copied AMOs into their own architecture. So we actually speculated on Frax in review that's going to be released about like what V3 could be, but we're excited for it.
So we don't know what it is.
We don't know yet. We speculated. I personally think a big part of it will have to do with on-chain governance. And when I interviewed Sam at ETH Denver last month, he talks about how Frax is moving to completely on-chain governance. It's going to be this optimistic system where it's this good balance where the Frax team can act quickly in situations such as like there's like a hack or exploit, they can like make a quick move, but also at the same time, the token holders, the VEFXS stakers have the final check on the entire system. And so they have the ultimate power and ultimate control.
Neat.
And then part 2 of the V3 is that Frax right now is pegged to actually not USD, but is actually pegged to like USDC or the fiat coin that's kind of in their treasure. But in the V3, Sam proposed that we're going to be pegged to the actual US dollar itself, while still maintaining a fully decentralized 100% on-chain mechanism. And he just kind of dropped the mic there and didn't really give us any much more like details about the designs. So, we're just speculating because like, how could you have US dollar without kind of going off chain, right?
Huh. I mean, that would be a big unlock. Like having USDC as collateral is a risk.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah. It all comes down to like custody. And I was thinking about how powerful custody is, and I feel like we talk about it like not your keys, not your coin, but sometimes I don't think it's like emphasized enough. Like those in custody is like that's simply like you have the power. Even like before with like banks hold custody of your dollars, they have the power. And in this new system that we're building, like we have custody and we have the power.
Yeah, I mean that's like a huge appeal of crypto. Like you can't like.
It's probably the biggest value. Honestly, the biggest value prop. It dawned on me. It dawned on me more the other day the importance of it. I mean, it's always been important, but it's just like, that maybe that's why like the government's going after it so hard.
It's all it's like the existing system. Like the average Joe gets scammed so many different ways.
Yeah, and honestly, let's be real. It's probably so easy. With great power comes great responsibility, and like having your own custody is like very stressful at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably like clever ways we can make it easier and less stressful. Like I getting rid of Trezor, it would be a first step. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Like getting, like having, I guess it's something to do with account abstraction in the future and social recovery. I think those are two very promising developments, to be honest.
Yeah.
As we're kind of like coming up to the end of our pod here, DeFi Surfer, I want to ask you this question that I'm sure a lot of the listeners are been thinking about, but like, what keeps you up at night? And what are the biggest risks on the horizon right now?
I mean, like, if you've been in crypto, like, how many days do you wake up? You're down 50% on some of your coins. Like, dude, that like waking up to some like massive liquidity outflow is like a big fear. So like what could lead to that? Like things that I'm worried about right now are like if the US went after Binance in a big way, like that would be very negative for crypto and would cause like a massive risk off. That's like a macro thing I'm like worried about. And Tether, I think folks are sleeping on
Tether.
their,
It's Tether, the black box.
yeah, I mean like the protocol itself works great. Like you can get liquidity on chain just fine, but like I think at some point the US will go after them, and Binance is just the starting point. I think that worries me. I honestly kind of want crypto to go down. I could make it a lot bigger in terms of my portfolio. So like this is kind of selfish bearishness in a way. I do think crypto is here to stay for sure. Like, like self-custody, like you said, internet native, like you can't be debased by some geriatric in Congress. There's so many reasons why it makes more sense than the existing system.
I have one last question for you. Do you see crypto? I feel like crypto adoption can go two ways in the future. One is like Linux, where it's just like those who are technically savvy enough are able to use it, or is it going to be like the internet, where it's just like ubiquitous and like everybody uses the internet, everybody's going to use crypto? Which way do you think is more likely to happen?
Like this is the genius of Bitcoin and number go up technology. Like when it fucking pumps, it just draws in the next wave of people. That's exactly why I'm here. Like the on-chain data looks so bullish for Bitcoin. We just need the macro to align, and we'll have another cycle, and we'll have another 100 million, 200 million people join. Yeah. I think.
I think so. I think we have like one or two max big cycles left before, it just becomes a daily part in our lives, and it just becomes, just another thing. But for now, it's super exciting, super cool. We're super into it. That's what we do because we love it. Kit, should we get to the lightning round now?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. DeFi Surfer, sir, at the end of all of these pods, we always ask a series of lightning round questions just to kind of get the surfer behind the threader. So the first question from me is, what was your virgin crypto experience? When did you first touch the chain? And sex don't count.
Wait, what? When did I first touch the chain? What do you mean?
When did you first use Uniswap? Did you use Uniswap? Was it Aave? Did you degen into some food farm?
What was your first transaction on the blockchain? When did you first touch the blockchain?
I think I bought Link on SushiSwap.
No, that's why you like SushiSwap.
Yeah,
you have that. You have that connection that it was my first time.
The Link Marines had crazy fucking memes.
the Link Marines were gentle on you, I hope.
they had crazy fucking memes, and I got mesmerized in. Yeah,
nice.
The power of memes.
Good virgin experience. And what is your favorite off-chain touchgrass activity?
I'd say skiing and golf are tied.
Wow, nice. Not surfing. Okay. What a twist.
Not surfing.
I don't live in Hawaii or California anymore.
That's true. So, DeFi Surfer, what is some advice that you would give to your younger self? And it can't be buy Bitcoin.
Oh my God. I should have aped GMX when it was at 12.
You can't talk about aping. It's just life advice.
Oh, life advice or crypto advice?
Life advice. Yeah. It could be anything advice, but just not buy this.
Younger self? Okay.
Yeah. Some wisdom you wish you had.
Oh, yeah. I think
rephrase that.
I would encourage folks to think for themselves and have their own point of view, because otherwise you just get pulled around by all these influencers and the narrative is going to be the strongest when it's like the least opportune time to take action. So like I'd encourage folks to have their own point of view.
Good advice.
And the last question to wrap it all up is, if you weren't in finance and you weren't in crypto, what would your professional career path be?
Great question. I think this is kind of I think like folks who are like entrepreneurs in crypto are like, I mean that is crypto, but like I feel like I admire that the folks who are courageous enough to go down that path a lot. But if I had my dream job, I feel like being a pro golfer would be pretty sweet.
I had a feeling you'd say athlete. I was going to be surfer or golfer, and it was golfer.
Yeah, they have it pretty good, the top guys.
Yeah. Nice. Well, maybe we'll see you on the course one day.
Yeah, come up to New England. We'll get around in.
I'm down. I occasionally visit Massachusetts because UMass is my alumnus. So you may or may not find me there.
If you're in Bitcoin Miami, maybe we could meet up. That would be fun to get around in down there.
Yeah, perhaps. I'll let you know. But DeFi Surfer, thank you so much for coming on. Great to have you, and hope we have you again soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, man.
Hello and welcome to the DeFi Surfer postgame. I'm Sam, and I'm joined by Dave and Kiet, and we are here to talk about the Surfer, DeFi Surfer. Guys, first impressions. Let's go.
He's very smart, very intelligent. I think he had I relate a lot to his path to crypto of just first being a Bitcoin maxi a bit, and then seeing like other things pop up. I was like, what's going on over there? I thought it, I like how he's developed his own positions and convictions, and he's thought about things a lot, whether it's like why he likes Arbitrum and GMX, or like why he doesn't like Tether. So I really respect how he's an independent thinker first and foremost, and obviously a very smart guy.
I like that he is a fellow Trojan, fight on, and we're able to vibe off of that. And also, frankly, I think his experience coming from Tradfi gives him a very sober look into how crypto is and what is the bigger picture, right? He provided a lot of contrarian thesis in his in all of his tweets, right? Everyone's talking about QE, banking crisis, and etc. But he actually digs into the data and he shows you charts. That's just facts.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hack.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is it? There's some tweet that I saw yesterday. It's like the fastest way to grow on Twitter is just to be like
Cunningham's law. Cunningham's law.
Yeah, just be like super divisive, and just say like the wildest shit, and like that's what gets spread. People spread this like crazy takes, right? It's all you have to be like bad takes, but when you actually like dig into the data and you find out, okay, hey, it's really not as bad as I think it is. Like, you get a much better picture, and I think that's where Mr. Surfer is standing. Yeah. So, what did you find surprising from the show?
I thought he would know a bit more about Frax, to be honest, because he's into stablecoins and he's written a lot about stablecoins. But I feel like he's written most, I guess, coming from Tradfi, and like his point of view, he's really focused on Tether and USDC. But I'm not sure if he's focused too much on Frax just yet. But I think we gave him a good first impression.
Yeah. I think you guys did. Yeah, it's always interesting to hear about people who have come in and their journey, and kind of like if they had found Frax or not, and kind of what they start to think about it. Hopefully, he starts to dig in and has a good positive experience in finding out all about Frax.
Yeah, I hope we lead him down a nice rabbit hole and something similar to when he first got into DeFi.
Yeah. And what about you, Kiet?
I think for me is I didn't realize how bullish he is on Arbitrum and not on any other L2s. And not on any other L2.
I thought he was more. I don't think we mentioned optimism once.
No optimism. We actually bagged on zk a little bit. And like,
We
so
did back
like,
ZK.
like he really is all in on Arbitrum, and I was kind of curious as to like, well, why this conviction, and he answered, but I feel like there must be a deeper reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just as a personal poll here, have you guys used Optimism in the past 2 months?
Not in the past 2 months.
Have you
I've
used
used
Arbitrum in
it
the past 2 months?
once.
Other than
Yes.
other than claiming the airdrop?
Yes, to both. I used Optimism twice.
Yeah, I
but Arbitrum
have
more.
used it, and yeah.
Yeah, this is the issue, right? Is that now we've got like zkEVM, we've got Optimism. There's going to be a bunch of like L2s coming. Like, I just don't understand. I get the point of like going out, right? All it is just like switching some stuff in my MetaMask, but it almost feels like the Alt L1 thing where like going from you just bridge, you like bridge from ETH to Avalanche, or you bridge from ETH to Phantom. Like, what sort of experience am I getting differently? And I think Arbitrum is able to say confidently, like, oh, hey, we have GMX. But I don't know, is that enough of a moat?
I really liked what he had to say about Coinbase and Binance being an on-off ramp and being like the interface for the masses to, get people to interact with, life on chain and being on chain. I think that could be a challenge to Arbitrum, but I think what really has what Arbitrum has done so well is develop, attract natural mind share, which creates this network effect, and it's positive flywheel effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that like the whole idea of what like Arbitrum is, right? I guess they've just done well on their marketing and branding versus like some of the other ones. And maybe it's the bridge. Maybe the bridge is just nice to use because that's where like most of the hassle is, right? So like if you're thinking about the early days of Arbitrum, it was just easier to bridge than Optimism. It was super quick, and they already had all the stuff, so you could go back and forth. And then GMX came along, kind of like changed everything. So we'll see. I think there's bigger questions about like how does base fit in and whatever Binance does. Do you think? Well, I know there's like BNB Binance or like BNB chain, right? But does Binance release an Ethereum L2 at some point?
I think they could.
Yeah.
I mean, you had for a bit different L1s that were Cosmos chains, like Kronos. So you could definitely see like an Ethereum L2.
Yeah.
Seems like a natural fit. Good alignment.
I think Binance's window of how they operate is rapidly closing. So their like main company, like they have BNB chain, like they're going to be fully forced into the kind of online only space, I think, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You guys touched on it a little bit, but those charges that were brought against CZ and Binance and everybody, pretty serious. Like,
yeah,
terrorist financing.
US really going to the jugular there.
AML laws. I mean, look, they've been investigating Binance for a long time, and like everybody knows that Americans could trade on Binance, right? Like you just turn on a VPN and go. Like this isn't anything like new, and so it's finally catching up. And it's going to be probably like an 18-month, 2-year thing, but man, it could be really nasty. Come soon. And yeah, you guys did touch on it. So I liked how he had good connections. It sounds like he's done his homework. Not like now that he's like in, like, he said he had like some contacts at USDC and Coinbase and stuff, and is able to kind of like reach out and get some good information to bolster his theses. Thesis. No,
DeFi of DeFi.
No, it's the theses.
I'm just making it up. Thesis.
So what do you guys have any unanswered questions from the interview?
I like to get him in a room with Bitfinex and have them meet each other. Bitfinex has me blocked though, so I can't do that. I don't know why.
I think he would make a good. I think he's been. I really enjoyed listening to him speak, and I would like to have him back on to talk more about some of the investigations that he's got going on.
Yeah, I think it would be a good panel guest.
Yeah, definitely. Having read his blog, which is really great,
Very well written. Yeah,
very well written. I think that it would be great to have him back on, like to present, like to essentially bring a deck. I think he's the kind of person who like wants to be really prepared walking into things.
Yeah,
and,
you can tell that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, if next time he has a blog post, we can invite him on to come talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll guest post for us. Who knows? My journey with Frax.
My journey with Frax.
Learning about Frax.
That would actually be good. We can ask him to like go investigate Frax and then come back and talk
real
about it.
Frax hours.
So based on the other threaders that we've had on Flywheel, where does is he more of like a Barry type, or is he like a Haim, or is he a OXD for D24?
No, I think he's a DeFi surfer. He's in his own
DeFi server.
Yeah. I want to
Correct
watch
answer.
those. I kind of yeah.
Well, I'm talking about style mostly. Like the I know there's not. I'm not talking about. Sorry, I'm not talking about style. Like
I guess like in terms
more
of
presentation.
I think he's more of like a 0xD24 because they both have like similar backgrounds in Tradfi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just is like, does 0xD24 have a blog? Does he write extensively?
He threads.
He threads.
But I don't think I don't know if has he threaded recently.
No, I don't think so. Maybe
The life of a threader.
Maybe DeFi Surfer is like the first like blog boy that we've had on.
Boy.
The blog boys, because
blog era.
Yeah,
real blogging hours.
Because those the threaders kind of like get away with like, here's a 10 thread tweet. I wrote 6 sentences and here's some pictures. Go figure it out. Versus like he's putting in like several thousand words. But yeah, it was good. I liked the chat at the end about like monetary policy and stuff. It was all very nice. Enjoyed this one.
It was a good one.
Do you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
That's
good.
it on my end.
That's good. Well, great. Well, let's take it out of here. I'm Sam, and I've got Dave and Kiet here. Guys, Kiet, let's start with you, and Dave, you can lead us out.
Yes, people can find me at 0xcapital_K.
People can find me at DeFi Dave 22. And if you want to find us at Flywheel, go find us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. Join the Telegram group at Flywheel DeFi. Go to our YouTube and catch up with everything Flywheel. Hit that subscribe and bell button. Do it at the same time. Defy the laws of physics. We want you here. We want your support. We hope you like us. I fucked up.
No, it's okay. We're rolling. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Everything said on this episode is not financial or tax advice. This channel is strictly for educational purposes and is not an investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any assets or to make any financial decisions. This video is not tax advice whatsoever. Please talk to your accountant and do your own research.